Hello my lovelies, and welcome to my very first episode in Miniature Mondays. Most of you know this channel to be drawing and painting related, so this is something a little bit new. I've touched in a couple of my videos my obsession with creating miniatures. To the point of this video, I am starting a brand new project, which is the Alice in Wonderland ride. It's been a few years since I've been able to visit my favorite park. I'm really missing it. So I came up with the idea to make a diorama of my ride. Now, a while ago, I did a paper craft for the Alice in Wonderland ride. I'll leave a link to that video in the description box below, or at the end of this video, you can check it out. But I wanted to do an actual miniature and try to see what scene I would want to take. And I couldn't choose which scene. So came up with this idea, which is to do a miniature focusing on the entire ride. It's slightly ambitious. First, how to even come up with a ride design that can be in miniature form, because I didn't want an overhead view of it. I wanted something I could hang on the wall that I could look at. And so this was actually my second sketch. My first sketch was on the back of some homework paper and really rough. I posted it on my social media, and actually several of you guys guessed it. I don't know how you guessed that it was an Alice in Wonderland, but you did. So you guys earned some major nerd points. That's awesome. But let's go ahead and look a little bit closer on the design side, because that's really the first step. If you're not doing a project that's based on a kit that you're purchasing, you have to design it. And that for me is so much fun. I love designing. Now, I'm not an architect, I'm not a carpenter, so if you think you have to have those skills to be able to do miniature work, we just make it work. So I'm going to take you along the journey. I will make a ton of mistakes in this miniature process and learn from those mistakes, but that's how you get better. So let's look at this a little bit closer. So this was the original drawing, and then I set this part up here. So it's a 4-level miniature with 2 components that are coming out. I'm going to focus on each level individually and complete those as I work. And originally I was going to build the whole infrastructure first and then work inside, but I find that it's better if I just build these room by room, and then at the end I will connect all 4 rooms together. That way I can really get into it. Each floor is going to be a different segment of the ride as the ride meanders through. So the floor 1 is going to have an outer component, which I'm not going to focus on yet. I'm going to actually do the 4 floors first and then do the outer components. But it has like the loading dock and the cars, which I think will kind of help to establish that this is the Disneyland dark ride. And then as it goes into a little cave, you'll see the door that Alice goes through, and that'll lead her into the first part of the project. I'm going to really quickly go over the other 4 floors, but this is the one we're going to be focusing on in this video and next week's video. So this is first floor. So first floor comes through and leads you into Wonderland. You meet the Tweedles and the White Rabbit. So those are the 2 main focus points on this floor, and then you leave. The second floor brings you up through here, which is maybe my favorite part of the whole ride, which is the flower garden. As you can see, I've really kind of showcased this a little bit. I love the white rose, and there's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on this. I'll tighten this up when I get to that floor. But then as it leaves, you find the caterpillar, and moving on to the 3rd floor, you go through Toji Woods, you meet the Cheshire Cat, who then points you into Queen's Gardens. I have a lot of fun things that I want to do in this as far as movable pieces and lighting. And so hopefully I'll learn in these 2 floors how to get this done. Then the final floor, the top floor, is probably actually my favorite part of the ride. It is, and the second outward component. So at almost the end of the ride, you come out to this you come out of the ride and you're on the top of the ride, and you kind of go along this outer track past this mushroom with the book before heading back into Wonderland. And I love it because it pops you out into reality, and you think, oh, the ride's over, but no, you have like the grand finale left. Anyway, so then you go back down the rabbit hole into the unbirthday party, tea party, and that's where the ride's going to end. So this is the full, what I hopefully envision my miniature to look like. as far as the materials that I'm going to need to create this, I'm going to be building the structure out of wood. I'll be using my Glowforge to cut out the wood framing. Also, some of the different pieces like the trees and some of the foliage will be cut out in wood. But the figures themselves, I'm going to mold out of clay. Let's move into the actual designing part. So what I went ahead and did is designed a little bit better of a sketch and then began to design what pieces I wanted to cut out in my Glowforge. So I had the figures designed out. I drew this on paper and then scanned it into my computer, and then went ahead and just did block shapes for what I wanted my Glowforge to cut out. And as I built the project, I found that I went back and added a few more pieces. I love these mushrooms, so I ended up printing, I think, 2 more of these. I have 4 mushrooms hidden throughout the set. Once I have everything sketched up, then I change those images into an SVG file. I'm not going to go into the technical part of that in this video. There's lots of videos on YouTube that talk about that, but if you'd like me to do a little bit more of a detailed video on how I translate my art into SVG files to upload onto my Glowforge software, let me know in the comment section below. I can talk about that, but I will tell you, I made some mistakes in this one. Then I put this into my Glowforge software and begin to position the pieces where I want them to be cut on the wood. It's kind of like a mixture between Tetris and cutting out cookies. Is you want to use as much wood as possible and fit as many pieces in as possible. So there was a lot of moving things around and getting it all put into places. I ended up using several pieces of wood. I had some scaling issues, so I ended up having to cut a few pieces a few times, which wasted some wood, but I was able to reuse those pieces. And again, I'll talk about that later on in the video. Now that that's all ready, it is time to hit the big Glowforge button. It kind of reminds me of Iron Man, and let the Glowforge do its thing. So if you don't know what a Glowforge is, it's a laser cutting machine. I'm cutting wood with laser and fire. If you're interested in making your own miniatures and you want to cut them out of wood, a Glowforge is a really good investment. So if you have any questions about the Glowforge or you're thinking about wanting to pick one up, feel free to message me. I love chatting about it. So let's get the pieces out and move them to the table. I have it all glued together, and I've used some little squares on the corners to help make sure that everything is gluing at a good right angle. I don't want a wall to be kind of, you know, leaning in or out too far, so that kind of helps me. I thought after it glued that I would pop those off, but they actually ended up making good supports, and I've left them in. Also found out, as I said before, that I had a scaling issue when I had first cut out my pieces, and some of them, the first set that I cut out were like twice the size. I'm not exactly sure how that happened. I drew them out at a specific size on my software, but somewhere between changing my drawings into an SVG file, changed the sizes, and they were super big. So I forgot to double check my sizing, but it's okay. I was able to use these pieces. I kind of cut some of the pieces down a little bit. This video's main focus is on the designing and the background. And then next week, I'm going to be talking about molding the figures themselves. The black piece that I have in the back is actually like matte board, and I'm going to paint my backdrop on there just so there's something in the background. The whole dark room is going to be, well, dark. I'm going to paint all the sides, the ceilings, the floor black, but I want the background to have a little bit of stuff going on, and I ended up going kind of crazy on this part. So there's a lot of detail that I put into this piece that is really covered up by a lot of the figures. But I think that's kind of the charm of these rides too, because there's so much to look at. Fun fact is that the Alice in Wonderland ride was updated. Originally, when you rode the ride, there wasn't a lot in the background. It was kind of just like a little moonlit hill with a sign saying to White Rabbit's house. Then when they updated it, they put in this really cool little vignette with animation that shows the White Rabbit running over the hill and Alice, animated Alice, running after him. And I kind of jumped back and forth between the original setup and the new setup. And I kind of like the new setup. I just thought it had a lot more color and life to it. So I went ahead and sketched that in. So that's the first vignette. The second vignette is where you meet the Tweedles. And then the last vignette is going to be the White Rabbit, which I ended up painting White Rabbit's house in the background. I didn't record that portion because it took me a stinking long time to do it. And I didn't think it was going to be that long. I didn't think I was going to be that detailed. It's so detailed, and it's almost completely covered up in the final product. And we're just about ready to switch over to the modeling clay. Because I don't want this video to be super long, I'm going to put that in a part 2 video, so that'll come out hopefully next Monday. I have it all filmed. But if you want some sneak peeks of what this project is looking like or where I am, you can follow me over on Instagram. I generally can't keep a secret and post pictures there. Or I'm giving all the behind the scoops on my Patreon. So I post a lot of photo updates over there. If you're like me and can't wait for a new video to come up and you want to see what's going on, those are 2 places to do that. I would love to hear if you guys are miniaturists, if you have done miniature work. I would love to see things that you're working on. Say hi to me on social media or in the comments below. Tell me what you're working on. Or if you have always just thought about doing miniature work, but not sure if you could actually do it. First, let me tell you, yes, you can. It is so much fun. But let me know about your miniature adventures and journeys, thoughts and questions. But anyway, I'm going to get back to working on this miniature. I have to start planning out floor number 2. Floor number 1 is completely done. But thank you so much for joining me on this adventure for episode 1 of Miniature Mondays in the creation of the Alice in Wonderland Dark Ride. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you'd like to follow along the adventures and you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any other future miniature or art related videos. And as always, God bless you guys, keep being awesome, and we'll see you in our next art video. Bye bye!